So you have a sport fishing boat, you got a yacht, you need to redo the cabin, Professor, and you think, this can't be too much time. The truth is,
It's a lot of time.
it's a lot of time, and you're gonna see just how much time. We're talking hundreds of hours to take this cabin to where it is today. So Professor, in 2021, we purchased this boat at the end of that year, and it was beautiful, a 40-foot Express. We were excited, but there was one issue.
Down here.
She was not, she was stripped down here in the cabin. Describe for the audience what it was like down here in the cabin at the time.
Well, it really looked like it had been put together, torn apart, and then partially put back together again. Just in the rough stages, just some rough framework, and rough.
She was rough.
Yeah.
You take the bathroom, we could see that there was a place for the toilet, and there was a place for a shower.
Right. But it was just a dark hole.
It was a dark hole. And then we had the, what was essentially the countertop area with the fridge area, and describe that, because she was rough too.
Yeah, it was just a piece of plywood and some rough framing there for the cabinets, and it had a different style fridge in it, and it's just, it was bad.
Yeah, yeah. So V-berth was, of course, once again, not completed, no shelves at all in the V-berth area.
Yep.
And of course at the time, we had an opening in this wall between the V-berth and of course this main cabin area.
Yeah, there was no way that you could shut it off or anything. It was just completely wide open, which did give it a more open feel, but it gave you zero privacy.
Yeah, zero privacy at all. Ceilings weren't done. Walls weren't done, were not finished, no trim, so we started from the bare bones. Now, realistically, you thought it was going to take how long? And everybody said it was going to take a long time,
Yeah.
but you have been a custom builder for over 20 years.
Right.
But a boat is different.
Boat's super different.
So you thought it was going to take how long, and what did you learn in this journey?
Well, I initially projected that I was going to be able to get it to pretty much this state that it's in right now in one winter. But there were a lot of things that I couldn't let go and that I added, and just my persnickety nature, you know what I mean? And don't get me wrong, it's not perfect now, but if I hadn't, gone those extra steps to do those things, it really would have turned out a lot worse than it did.
So what is it about a boat cabin that takes so much stinking time compared to, say, like a kitchen in a house, which I know can take a lot of time too, but it's very different?
Right, very different. Like in my field, you can pretty much cut something, measure it, cut it, and it'll fit one time. Here, it's not the case. I recall one piece in this cabin that took me 26 times to trim. And that seems like, wow, that's really crazy. He must not know what he's doing. But when you're trying to get something to fit so precise, and you have to scribe it, and you're working with really expensive material, you take a little bit off at a time, fit it. Take a little bit more off at a time, fit it. You know what I mean? Because one little hiccup can cost you $200 or $300. And if you have, those hiccups numerous times, before you know it, it gets in your wallet big.
Yeah, it gets big time.
Yeah.
So let's break down the different areas. The bathroom. Tell us about your experience redoing the bathroom. It's your first time with a lot of those, just different materials that you use. Talk about it.
Well, the bathroom was really, really rough. And so the first thing I had to do was put a skim coat on everything of like a filler and smooth that all out. And like in the corners, everything was straight corners, just like you see on the inside corner of a house, which in a boat, you don't normally have that. It's what you put a fillet is what it is, just a rounded corner. So you have to do all that with filler. And then all that has to be sanded. Well, I'm sure somebody that does this every day would have been a lot faster at it, but I was just learning how to use a lot of those materials and how to do these techniques. And the bathroom took me a long time because the paint that I used was Alex Seal.
Yeah.
And so it was a tremendous amount of time just getting the surface prepped and get it smooth.
How many times do you think you resanded that bathroom?
At least 10.
At least 10
Yeah,
times.
because you would, I would put the primer on it, and then you'd have to sand the primer, and you get the light and hold it sideways and up, adjacent to the wall, and you see an imperfection. We'd have to come back, and fill that in with the filler, come back and sand that smooth, reprime it, get the light again. You might find another spot. So, and there's a lot of like little fine holes in that primer too, that you don't see until, in the filler, that you don't see until you put the primer on. So it's kind of a process. And then the paint is a 2-part paint, and all the conditions have to be exactly right. The humidity, the mixing procedure, and all that stuff. And that was kind of a learning curve for me too, so.
Another learning curve, but now we've got a nice shower. She's sparkly, she's pretty. You got that custom door that you made, that see-through door with what, like a plexiglass almost?
Yeah, it's like a polycarbonate. It's sort of acrylic, plexiglass, and that was a task in itself, because that opening was 1 inch out of square at the top, and does not have room for a whole solid door to swing, so I had to make a bifold door, and then I had to lay up against a certain place. So that's what all takes so much time, because nothing's square, nothing's straight, and
So bathroom alone, well over 100 hours in that, well over 100 hours. Moving into that kitchen area, what were just some of the things that you did to make it as nice as it is now? Because I know one of the things that, first of all, the cabinets took a long time, but the finish that you see here in the cabin, which is like a wood veneer, that was just a monster to work with.
Yeah, well, if I know now what I know when I started, I would have ripped everything out of here, because they make this plywood with the teak veneer already on it. And see, a lot of people do not have the skill to put all the rough framework in with the teak veneer on it. So they cheese all the framework, and then they cover it with this veneer. You know what I mean? Well, me being as skilled as I am, not to toot my own horn or anything, but I could have very well easily saved myself a step just using the teak plywood to start off with. But anyway, some of the framework was here. I left it and came back with the teak veneer over everything. But the Galley here, it was all one level on the countertop. And when we bought the boat, we got this double drawer refrigerator that was brand new in the box with it. I was like, oh, that'd be a great idea. We'll put that new one in there. Well, come to find out, the old refrigerator had an angle at the bottom of it that allowed for the hole to come up. So when I got the new one out of the box, got it down here, I realized it's pretty much a residential, 2-drawer freezer refrigerator, and it's straight at the back. So that meant that in order for it to work and go deep enough, I had to raise it. So that meant the countertop had to raise. So I wanted to put a little cooktop in here too, and I didn't like the way that was going to crowd everything, and so I added another level, a raised level for the cooktop, and when I did that threw the sink off. Well, the original sinkhole was, that threw that way off, so then I had to redo that, and I didn't like the way the drawers and the doors were configured.
You didn't like anything?
Yeah, so like I say, I
should have just stripped it all out from the beginning.
Started new, yeah.
So that was just a lesson on this, is if you start with someone else's idea, you could regret sticking with their idea, whereas you might have been able to do it, easier, better, faster yourself.
But it turned out nice though. We got a nice 3-tier countertop, and it flows well. It works good, and then the cabinets above made all those doors and all that framework for those, and they turned out real nice too. So.
And the white finish on the walls is called what?
Formica. There's a lot of Formica down there.
Formica. And happy with that? Not happy with it?
Not really happy with it. Another yacht carpenter mentioned it to me, how easy it was to just cover some square footage with it. And it is easy, but it's really not the finish that I really wanted at the end. You know what I mean? It's easy to
just
clean.
Not quite as nice looking, in other words. Yeah. And then of course we've got we've had a little bit of help from Matt Penny as well.
Oh yeah.
Name of his company?
Salty Penny Canvas.
Salty Penny Canvas, and he did the ceiling.
Yeah, I cut all the plywood panels for the ceiling.
Right.
He came and wrapped them with headliners. So.
And we also got the cushions, and this essentially bench seat here also converts into a bunk as well.
Double bunk. It's kind of tight.
But it works.
It works. It does work. We proved it.
Yeah, we have definitely spent the night on here. But it's great, it's beautiful, and we're excited, of course, for you to see it when you come fishing with us during the summertime, and you're gonna see it when you come out. But all in all, the total hours that you spent, if you had to make a guess, down here finishing out this cabin on the Speechless was?
About 650. I wish I'd have kept better track of it, but you know, I'd pop in for a couple hours in the afternoon after work, and but rough guess is about 650.
650 hours.
And a yacht carpenter came on here when we brought this boat here, and I was like, yeah, man, I'll knock that out, you know, this winter and get that cabin all straight. He gets laughed. He said, huh, you won't have it done by next winter. You know, I was like, okay, we'll see. But he was exactly right.
He was right, and so maybe that's the big takeaway is. Whatever you think you could finish the cabin in, if you're going to get a boat and it needs to be redone, you might as well multiply that by 2 or 3 from a time perspective, because it takes a lot more time than you would think.
Yeah, and I mean, I built. You could buy a lot of these components like the doors and the trim and stuff like that. But I mean, I took raw lumber and made all the rails and stiles for this door. I mean, rough cut raw lumber and all the trim for the doors and everything. So, I mean, it's really rewarding to do it like that, but it takes you a lot of time, you know.
It does take time, and you took the time, and we appreciate you, Professor, taking the time. Appreciate you taking the time to watch this video. So now you've seen the full conversion of Speechless. Some of you have been asking over the months, hey, how'd the cabin end up? Well, the cabin ended up really, really beautiful because of this guy. Nothing to do with this guy right here. We hope you, again, come out, join us on the Speechless, come offshore, slip number 92 in Manio, North Carolina. And until the next time, everyone, stay salty.